you took the notes, and I trust what you will remember from this trial. That Travis jumped into the driver's seat of that truck after having seen Matt Albenze standing in front of 220 Satilla Drive and pointing down that street, signaling down that street. That the man that Travis McMichael had seen only 11 days earlier with his own eyes, and then slowly pulled up alongside so that he could confirm for himself, Dad's right. This is the guy. And the judge will tell you. You will gather the facts from the totality of the circumstances. Did they have a reasonable and probable cause to believe that this was the guy? And you can know, and the judge will tell you, that you gather that from every sense that you have. Your hearing, your sight, your sense of what's going on around you. Certainty, though, is a way higher standard than what you even need to find in this case. Certainty was way more knowledge than they needed to detain Ahmaud Arbery to execute a citizen's arrest. And that was Greg McMichael's intent. He said it from the very beginning. He was asked by the investigator, Parker Marcy testified to you, what was your intent had he stopped? And he said, as clear as a bell, hold him for the police so that he could be arrested. The judge will charge you that a private citizen can effectuate an arrest, detaining someone for the police to arrive if a crime happens within his knowledge, oops, there's the other one, or his immediate presence. Thanks, Jason. I appreciate it. So here's what you have to know. That you haven't yet heard from the state. There are no magic words that are required. The court will tell you there's nothing special you have to say to be effectuating a citizen's arrest. There's nothing special you can't say while effectuating a citizen's arrest. If it happens within your knowledge or immediate presence, then you can effectuate a citizen's arrest and criminal trespass, the court will tell you, going on someone's property without the authority and for an unlawful purpose is a crime, the misdemeanor offense of citizen's arrest. And again, what you haven't heard from the state and got some misdirection about, there's no requirement, Judge Walmsley will tell you, for a posting of a no trespassing sign. There's no requirement that any officer execute this trespass warning. It's your place, and people should stay off it. We don't need to be telling people ahead of time and giving them warnings if you don't want to. And he'll also charge you that a private citizen can effectuate an arrest, detaining someone for the goal of holding them for the police if he has reasonable grounds of suspicion to believe that a suspect is fleeing or attempting to flee from a felony. Burglary is a felony. Entering a dwelling place without authority with the intent to commit a theft in there. Not an actual theft, but the reason, the mindset for going into a place that's not yours. So how do you know that if there wasn't actually a theft? Judge Walmsley will tell you. The law will allow you to infer an intent to steal if there's an unlawful entry, meaning crossing into a place that's not yours, a place where valuables are stored, and you heard testimony that plenty of valuables were stored at 220 Satilla Drive, with no other apparent motive for being there. That means every single time Ahmaud Arbery goes into that house, he is committing a burglary. But you hardly needed a jury instruction to tell you that. Coming into someone else's house at night, where it's pitch dark, repeatedly, even after you've been run off, into a place where an offshore boat is holding expensive equipment, the intruder comes in, and sometime after that intruder has left, your stuff is gone. Reasonable grounds of suspicion is nothing more than probable cause. And probable cause, as Mr. Sheffield and the court will tell you, are facts necessary to establish a probability, more likely than not. It's less than certainty, but it's more than mere suspicion. So think of it this way. If Officer Rash had been on one of his patrols in Satilla Shores on February 23rd at about 1:08 p.m., and as he turned onto Satilla Drive, he saw Matt Albenze, who he'd already met, standing in front of 220 Satilla Drive, just signaling down that street. And down that street, hightailing it, is Ahmaud Arbery, the man that Officer Rash had seen on those video cameras over and over again. So if he saw and heard what these men did, he too would have had probable cause to arrest Ahmaud Arbery for the crime of burglary. There's no doubt he would have put on his sirens and tried to stop Ahmaud Arbery. And there's no doubt, after the events of February 11th, that Officer Rash would have had his gun at the ready and not taken any chances. And I suspect, in your minds, there would be no doubt that Ahmaud Arbery would have known exactly why he was being chased. Because there can be little doubt as well that Ahmaud Arbery knew exactly why the McMichaels were trying to detain him on February 23rd. The truth of life is that it's very complicated. A beautiful teenager with a broad smile and a crooked baseball cap can go astray. He can deteriorate and lose his way. And years later, he can end up creeping into a home that is not his own and running away instead of facing the consequences, acting erratically when approached, and making terrible, unexpected, illogical choices. But a mother's love doesn't fade from that beautiful boy in the ball cap to the young intruder. And sadly, no verdict can change the grief of that future not realized.